So you found an old TJ for sale and you're trying to figure out what you need to look for to see if it's really been beaten and abused. So we're going to go through my heavily beaten and abused Jeep and show you the kind of stuff that you're going to want to look for. So let's get into it. You're going to want to pay attention to little details, like we have these nice, wonderful steel fenders here. Why did we need those? Well, the old ones rotted out, rusted, the tire came up, bam, popped a hole in it. It happens. But now that they're steel, they don't bend. This was bashed up against a tree, just a scrape. But if you look over here, you can still see some of the tree in there. So if you find chunks of tree between body panels, you know it's been used pretty heavily. You can also see some of it down here in the diff guard, where the diff guard is bent out of the way. That's a pretty good sign that the Jeep has been used heavily. A common problem, tire rub. So you get the disconnects, right? And then the bar's out of the way. But then you flex enough that your tire will actually grab your bar and spin your bar all the way around until it's pointed something up like that. And then it'll start catching on other stuff. And so, yeah, I haven't decided how I'm going to deal with that yet, but working on it. If your bumper is welded to the frame, you might be a redneck. Or is that a copyright violation with Jeff Foxworthy? I came up with it, not him. But yeah, if somebody welds the bumper to the frame, they are definitely intending on beating their Jeep hard. So if you come across that, especially if that bumper's been bent, yeah, it's been ridden hard. If you get these things, they're wonderful. You can jerk on these all day long. They aren't coming off, but they're noisy. They make a lot of noise going down the road. This is just the top part of an old double tube bumper, Smitty belt. The whole bumper rusted out. We took the center section out of an old trailer, and then we cut that down, welded that on, and then just took the hoop off the old bumper. Try and make it still look Jeepy. You know, this camo doesn't really work out here in the fall, but it looks good. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with that. So, what else do you gotta look for? Oh, you have any idea how hard it is to dent the body panels on a vehicle this short right there? You've got to be getting into some pretty serious rocks to hit that. I mean, there's been a couple times when I've actually tried to hit it and missed. Common rust area, that will rust completely out, and it's going to start working on the body as well. So I was thinking about making a little home for a duck, like a little square metal box, throw some bars on there, throw Jimmy the duck in there. But I like having Jimmy in the cab. Hey, need to look at us when we're talking to you. You're on camera, bro. So what else do you want to look for on here? Let's see. We have the normal rust. Yes, I need to buy rear fender flares. If you don't have rear fender flares, the slightest little puddle is going to fling mud all up into your windshield. Ask me how I know. All right, here's a spot to look for. If anybody pulls on this too hard, you're going to start getting tearing right back up in here. It will actually tear all of this forward. I started peeling it when I was hauling some trees down the mountain because, you know, Jeep, tractor, it's the same thing, right? Now, these holes, they weren't here when I started inspecting, but I noticed a little bit of rust around this little hole right here. So I stuck a finger in it. And, oh, there's... These frames, they will rust out from the inside in some situations. There, we just pulled this out. I didn't even know that one was in there. I had these saved for you guys. All these chunks of metal here, nice, big, thick. This all came out of the inside of my frame in that spot we were just at. So I came over with a ball peen hammer because my frame looked good. There were no holes here. It looked just like this. That looks pretty decent, and it sounds decent when you smack it with a hammer too. But I've smacked this with a hammer a few times, and lo and behold, more holes. They rust out back here. Common problem. It's even more common if you do stupid stuff with your Jeep, like I do. Hey, what's that? Oh, more rust. So, you ever think to check inside the frame of a vehicle? I know, it sounds like a weird thing to do. But, to see if a vehicle's been ridden hard, get a light, look inside these little holes right here. Let's see if I can You see all that? That is sand and mud from Bonnell, Florida. I buried this thing in like 3-4 feet of mud. And now I have. Get out of there. Got my knuckle stuck. Alright, I give up. But yeah, there's Florida sand in there still. I've been trying to get it out for years. I gave up. Not worth the effort. At this point, it's just extra ballast down low. Notice my skid plate's not exactly straight. See how that? You can bend that up pretty far and still have your transmission and everything shift right. And the extra clearance is nice. But it's definitely a sign that the Jeep has been abused. I mean, used. Yeah, not abused. Never abused. Little cracks there in the bushings. You'd be surprised how much this will flex. If I disconnect the sway bar, it'll actually hit the fender. I need to get better bump stops. They rotted out. Is there a bump stop in there anymore? Does that count as kind of? Yeah, there's kind of a bump stop in there. Observant people will notice there's no shock over there, because they have a common problem, bar pins. I ended up having to get bar pin replacements. I haven't put them in yet. We got some nuts that are rusted in place. It's just bad juju. So when I fixed the other side, the upper shock mount bolts rusted in place. So we snapped some bolts, can't put the new shock in. Now I have to drill out new holes next to the old bolts. And to get to them, I'm probably going to have to cut in through the body, which is what I did on the other side. So if you're ever looking at an old Jeep, you're going to want to look inside and see if there's any cuts under the carpet. I wonder if we can get to it from here. Nope. And I'm not hauling that big old toolbox out right now. That thing weighs too much. If you take a good look at the paint, that can tell you a lot about how hard the vehicle's been driven too. Yeah, a lot of work was put into the paint job on this. It was a lot of fun too. But you'll notice these scratches along here. What do you have to drive past to scratch it like that? And I did that driving through a downed tree. Notice the scratches all over the hood? All these? Yep, there was a tree down, and I was able to get around it going up the hill. Coming back down the hill, the angles were too odd. It was just too close to a rollover situation. So I drove through a down tree. It was interesting. I wish I could have got it on camera. That would have been amazing. That would have been great video. So if you ever open the door and the dome light doesn't come on, first thing you want to do is look for a switch, because some Jeeps have a little switch right here. You can get them from a few different stores, or you can make them for pretty cheap. And just like that, light on, light off. Very handy. Takes a second for the light off, but yeah, if you can find one, get one. So there's a couple commonly available gas tank skid plates. If you can see the plastic skid tank, or I'm sorry, the plastic gas tank at the corner right there, you have the weak mall crawler skid plate. I know this because I had one and destroyed it. I'll show it to you. It's in rough shape, but this one you can bash pretty good. So if you have one where you can't see the corner of the plastic gas tank right here, good. If you can, upgrade. Well, Jeeps are not good tow rigs. If you can find one that has a hitch on it, like mine used to, that means it's got the towing package. That means it's got a Dana 44 and a factory limited slip. And let me tell you, that limited slip is amazing. This thing actually chirps the tires when I'm doing a U-turn on pavement. Whether it's street tires or mud tires, when I go full lock, I get a little bit of lug thump, yes, because, lugs. And it chirps. So the limited slip is truly amazing. Without it, this Jeep would not be anywhere near as capable as it is. But more importantly, Dana 44. So find one with the receiver hitch. And then cut that hitch off so you don't get stuck on it every time you go in the woods. I originally gave my receiver hitch. I took the hitch off the back and gave it away because I got tired of getting stuck on it. And then I got one that came with a bumper, and then decided I'll just cut the square off of it. So far, it's working pretty good like this. Although I do need to finish cutting that down. So right there is a tag attached to the diff. Can someone explain to me how I peeled a metal tag out like that from the side of the diff? If you find this on your Jeep, it has been heavily abused. If there's a dent on your oil pan and your exhaust on the engine, the Jeep has been heavily abused. Look at that skid plate. That's supposed to be straight. I still drive this thing every day. And it runs good. So if you just got in and drove it, you would have no idea that I've got an extra, what's that, like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of ground clearance more than I'm supposed to, just from bashing it off of rocks. Yeah, nice little scratch on the exhaust over there too. If you look, there's a bunch of denting up on the lower control arm there. We got to replace those. Yeah, I've smashed that a few times. If you're gonna buy a Jeep, get under it and look. And as heavily abused as this thing is, I take pretty good care of it. I've replaced a lot of stuff. We did the steering knuckle to knuckle to steering box. But, let me get out from under here. There's no underhood modifications in this one, other than removing the snorkel. I keep it with me, and I put it on for any deep water crossings, but I've noticed that by taking it out, I can feel a difference in how the Jeep performs. It's so much larger of an opening. The airflow restriction is actually, you can feel it from the driver's seat, surprisingly enough. Give it a try. I figure it's probably better for a tiny bit in gas mileage too, and the way gas is these days, yeah, every bit helps. Came walking out of the grocery store, found I have earned myself a second duck. So to whoever left me my duck, thank you.